This is a non-profit fan-made review. Star Wars is owned by Disney, but Splinter of the Mind's Eye was written by Alan Dean Foster. Since their purchase of Star Wars, Disney has failed to provide Mr. Foster with any royalties stemming from their continued sales of his work. If you wish to assist Mr. Foster and other authors Disney is failing to pay, please visit the site in the description to see what you can do to help. Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Chapter 6. The stormtroopers escort Luke and Leia into the holding facility, located in another section of the repurposed ancient temple, and force them into their cell. Luke inspects the bars to find them solid and extra thick. Leia gasps and points out a pair of large furry mounds near the window. For a diplomat, Leia still shows a bit of the imperial prejudice by referring to them as what rather than who, as Luke does. Leia is terrified, but Luke steps forward, determined to befriend the waking behemoths, who look like fat Wookiees that did nothing but arm workouts. In response to Luke's attempt at its language, the creature lifts Luke up off the ground and plants a wet kiss on each of his cheeks. Luke explains that he studied a lot about foreign worlds while growing up on the farm, and recognized these aliens as one of those he had studied. Use 'em. Leia realizes that the Use 'em are currently drunk. From what Luke can gather, they were conscripted as something in between indentured servants and slaves, until they got fed up and chose to fight back by getting drunk and mining in reverse, filling in the mines with dirt. After that, the two Use 'em, named Hin and Ki, were locked up in here. The only reason Gremmel didn't shoot them was because they each work about as much as 3 men. Unfortunately, Use 'em have notoriously slow metabolism, so despite being in jail for some time, they are still both very hungover. Leia shakes hand to paw with the Use 'em and goes over to the window to brood about how Hala abandoned them, and how stupid she, Leia, was for getting into a mud fight with Luke. Luke does his best to comfort her, but then Gremmel and his stormtroopers arrive and inform them that someone has taken a special interest in their case. Gremmel does his best to convince Luke to tell him the truth of the matter, implying that the Imperial agent en route won't be as kind as the captain-supervisor. But Luke maintains his ignorance. Gremmel then lets slip that it was Governor Asada whom he contacted, and that revelation resonates within Leia. Leia begins to have a panic attack, still suffering PTSD from her last interrogation at the hands of Governor Tarkin. Here, I believe the book gives us possible clarification of what was done to her after the scene cut away from the floating ball robot carrying a syringe. That syringe had some form of brain maggots, small black worms that were injected into Leia and crawled around in her brain, causing pain and attempting to compel her to divulge rebel secrets to her captors. The maggots were removed, but the memory of the pain they induced still runs deep. Of course, this could just be my own interpretation of what the author was trying to convey, and the small black worms alluded to in the book might have just been a metaphor for the traumatic memories rising to the surface at that particular moment. Leia begins to scream, trapped in her memories, and Luke once again has to slap her. Luke then tries to pass it off as just the Empire's reputation that has scared her, but Gremmel doesn't buy it. He can tell she has been interrogated before. Gremmel first orders, then cajoles that they tell him who they are, implying that he could help, then goes back to yelling, and is only stopped when one of the Use 'em tries to grab him by the throat. Gremmel pompously insults the Use 'em's body odor, and Hin hacks a loogie into Gremmel's face. As Gremmel and his cadre leave, the Use 'em return to check on Leia's well-being. Luke promises Leia that he won't let her go through such an interrogation ever again, and shortly later, food is delivered through a slit. As Luke ponders on how to get out, a voice from outside the window makes them all jump. Hala has returned. Overhearing some of the conversation with Hala, the Use 'em say that they would be glad to assist Luke and Leia in escaping, and Hala in retrieving the crystal, once they get out. Claiming mastery of the Force again, Hala reaches out and levitates one of the trays, moving it towards the door controls. Hala begins to lose her grip, and orders Luke to help her. Luke, with some ghostly advice from Obi-Wan Kenobi, helps her, and they successfully make the tray hit the door controls. Hala nearly passes out from the strain, but is able to hold on. Hala then gives Luke directions to the motor pool, while the two Use 'em go on a violent and noisy rampage through the base as a distraction. Leia quickly throws the food tray back into the cell and locks it in order to mess with the stormtroopers. They try to convince the Yuzim to come with them, but other than tossing them a couple blasters, the Yuzim do not waver from their violent fun. Luke and Leia down a couple troopers, and eventually Luke is able to get through to Hin and convince him to go get Ki and to get out of there. Hin manages to retrieve Luke's lightsaber for him, and then they all leave, as the author puts it, with equal amounts blood and confusion in their wake. This concludes my review of this chapter. I plan on releasing a chapter review every other week. Please like and subscribe, and feel free to listen to all of my other videos. I published an entire Mimban campaign, as well as a censored version for the kids.